Hey everyone, good evening. I'm Chief Meteorologist Arel Winninger from the Central Oregon Daily Weather Center. Now, we had a fantastic weekend and it has been a gorgeous start to the work week, but a few changes to our weather pattern are on the way. So we're going to take a deep dive into your most reliable forecast, look at what's been happening today and what's going to happen through the next couple of days. We're not expecting too many big changes and no precipitation is in sight, but roller coaster temperatures and winds are going to get breezy at times. So let's start off right here and right now across our Tri-County area, almost not a cloud in the sky, under plenty of sunshine, and we do see a little bit of haze, but it's not bad, and those temperatures are warming up a little bit more. So if you enjoyed today's warm-up, get ready, because by tomorrow we're topping out in the 70s across most of the Tri-County area, and a few spots are going to be flirting with record high temperatures. And so as we go forward, our weather headlines include warmer temperatures and some clouds Tuesday. That additional cloud cover is going to be from a very weak cold front. It's not going to bring anything in the way of precipitation to Central Oregon, but we are expecting the dip in temperatures on the backside of it. So the cooler air mass is rolling in. Winds are going to get breezy at times and it stays very dry. Now, some late week cooling will actually drop our temperatures into the 50s by Thursday, but it's going to be a brief cool down. We start to rebound immediately after. And switching gears, looking at satellite. This is infrared satellite, and we have isobars on there, so equal lines of pressure, and we can see where those isobars have they're packed together over the Pacific Ocean. That's because of much stronger winds. Even through the high desert, we've had a light breeze for most of the day, but by this afternoon it was starting to pick up for some of Central Oregon too. And our next system is actually centered over the Gulf of Alaska with a series of fronts coming down into the Pacific Ocean through Canada, and so we do have a cold front that's offshore, but you can tell that this is already starting to weaken up. We see very thinning when it comes to the cloud cover embedded within that cold front, and by the time it gets to the coastline, it starts to fizzle out. Now, we're not expecting much at all in the way of precipitation for our Tri-County area. On the backside of that cold front, we have a broad ridge of high pressure, and that high is going to come into play, and everything that's happening on the west side of that high, from the low that's just south of the Aleutian Islands going further to the west, all that's going to be working around this ridge of high pressure. So once this system rolls in, once this cold front rolls into the high desert, we start to see a few changes, but we're not looking at a washout. Very little precipitation, in fact, and winds are going to get breezy at times with that dip in temperatures. But on the flip side, looking at this same region, the Pacific Northwest and the Pacific Ocean, we still have our high pressure out over the Pacific Ocean, but we've switched to water vapor imagery, and this really captures where the moisture is in the atmosphere. Where you're seeing the whites and even the greens with our cold front, that's where there's a lot of moisture. Where you're seeing the blues and the yellows, that's where we have a lot less moisture. And so we have a dry air mass that's over the Pacific Northwest right now. Until this cold front really rolls through tomorrow, we stay in this dry air mass. That's going to allow for more sunshine to cut through the cloud cover. And since this front is already starting to fizzle out, by the time it gets here, we're only looking at in and out clouds, and temperatures are going to be allowed to pick up much more before this cold front pushes through. And what that really means for us is we're expecting another bump in temperature, some in and out clouds, and then a cool down, and we stay dry. Now, switching gears again, looking at this is a combo of infrared and visible satellite and radar, and we don't have any precipitation in sight. Really, our weather's being driven by this broad ridge of high pressure that's staying in place until our cold front fizzles out. So it's not quite, that high isn't quite giving way to our next cold front, it's weakening our next cold front, and that is going to bode well in our favor if you did not want much more in the way of precipitation. Meanwhile, look at this. In the last 24 hours, temperatures topped out in the 60s and some 70s across our Tri-County area. That's pretty much where we still are. Missing some data from the Madras sensor. I'll fix that before the show starts. But our temperature change, look at this. We're running between 8 and 14 degrees warmer than we were on Sunday, and that's where we're sitting solidly in the 60s with some 70s, but even more warming is expected. It's because of the high pressure that we're sitting in right now. So tomorrow our cold front rolls in, and we are not expecting that dip in temperatures until overnight. Highs in the 70s. In and out clouds are expected with a light breeze that could become breezy at times. So a little more warming before our next round of cooling. Then fast forward to Wednesday, and we're looking at plenty of sunshine. Now, it will be a bit cooler, but it's still going to be pleasant across the high desert. Highs in the 60s, a few 70s, and I forgot to mention this specific forecast model it's highlighting two things: winds, and we have the surface analysis on there, but it's also showing us temperatures. So where you're seeing the yellows, the reds, that's where we have warmer than average temperatures. Where you're seeing the blues and greens, that's where it's cooler. And so that cooler air mass is actually digging into the Pacific Northwest by the time we hit Thursday. Still going to be dry until you get to eastern Oregon and further to the east. That's where there are going to be some scattered rain and snow showers. It just doesn't quite make it our way. And so, yes, roller coaster temperatures are on the way. And yes, we are getting a big drop in temperatures, falling 20 plus degrees in some locations between Tuesday and Thursday, going from 76 to 59. And as we go forward after that, we're expecting a gradual warming trend with a little more sunshine thrown in the forecast as well. So we're going to look at our traditional forecast model. It shows a ridge of high pressure out over the Pacific Ocean. Another system south of the Aleutian Islands, but it also shows our cold front. This is the one that rolls through on Tuesday. This is the one that doesn't bring any precipitation, but it brings a dip in temperature. So by Tuesday a.m., some light clouds. By Tuesday p.m., some light clouds. We'll call it mostly clear to partly cloudy. Now, there are a few specks of green around Baker City and over south central Oregon. Those are going to develop and continue to roll to the east, not impacting us, but it's few and far between where they actually get showers from this system. And from the latest forecast model guidance, it's just not going to be for central Oregon. By Wednesday, we do have some clouds in the forecast, especially earlier in the day, but then more sunshine. By Thursday, another round of increasing clouds for some, but we're really just not even expecting any precipitation with that system out there. And so through Thursday night, we're switching gears now, going to the GFS model. This is a long-range model that I typically don't show on air, but it'll help paint the picture of what we're expecting in the longer trend. So by Thursday, still under the impact of that domain of low pressure, where there's some showers off towards the east, we start to see clearing, and then by Friday, we are back to sunshine, and the warming trend begins, bringing us back through the 60s, even into the 70s before another system on Saturday. That system keeps us mostly dry. Stronger winds are expected, just more in and out clouds. So a lot less sunshine, more clouds, and a chance of precipitation, just not much at all. The mountains absorb anything we're expecting on Sunday, so we'll call it partly cloudy for the high desert, and by Monday, we start to see clearing late in the day. And between now and Wednesday at 11 p.m., nada. There's just going to be a little bit of sprinkle activity through the Cascades with a cold front, but what little moisture there is, the mountains just absorb that. When it comes to wind gusts this afternoon and evening, gusts are at 5 to 13 miles per hour, so the actual wind speed is a gentle breeze that's 5 to 15 miles per hour, not very strong at all. And through the day, it's actually been more like 2 to 12 miles per hour. There are just a couple spots that are peaking right now, and through the next hour or two, that's what's expected, breezy at times. Then a gentle breeze overnight. Then through the day Tuesday, 5 to 15 miles per hour, gusting at 20 plus. Then by Wednesday, it does get breezy, just not excessive winds. So by Wednesday and Thursday, we're looking at stronger winds, more in and out clouds, but we are staying dry, and that's when we have our cooling trend. So for tonight, temperatures bottom out in the 30s with a few 40s on the map. Tuesday brings with it 70s. Now, a couple of spots could bump up into the 80s, but with the additional cloud cover and stronger winds, it's not going to happen for everybody. I'll just put it that way. And that'll be the last very pleasant day after a little bit more warming before we start to cool down. Notice we're staying dry through the entirety of our 7-day forecast. Thursday and Friday, some clouds, but Friday we get more sunshine than anything. Temperatures are starting to rebound by then, and this weekend brings another system. It's going to be another dry system, stronger winds, more clouds, and more of that continued roller coaster temperature fashion that we're all too familiar with for this time of the year. Looking past that, this is tomorrow's day 2, and so this is days 2 through 8. And so looking past our weekend, days 6 through 10, it's still going to be unseasonably cool, but it's also going to be unseasonably dry. That's the latest in weather. Tune in tonight to Central Oregon Daily News in just a couple of minutes at 5 on ABC and 11 on ABC, and then at 6, 7, and 11 on CBS. Have another rundown of your forecasts, and with fresher model guidance, I'll be able to tell you if there are any changes expected. But that's it for now. Y'all have a good one.